Hello and welcome again to another episode of The Startup Show, brought to you as always by Inc. Authority. I'm your host, Trevor Rowley, and today's topic is an interesting one because so many people are starting LLCs this day, and we're helping them form them all the time at Inc. Authority. And after they set up their new LLC, they receive a beautiful record book full of a whole bunch of documents. And for a lot of first-time business owners, they've never seen these things before. They don't know what they are or why they're important. But to walk us through the process of going through that corporate record book and understanding what those documents are, we have a very special guest today. Welcome to the program, Ben Susumi. How are you, Ben?
Doing good. Thank you for having me, Trevor. Glad to be here.
So you're a customer support specialist. You work in our incredible customer support team at Inc. Authority. And tell us a little bit about what you do in that role.
Yeah, so I like to actually say that our customer support team is very knowledgeable. We can practically take care of pretty much everything that our clients have going on. You know, most of the like easy stuff that's going on there. When it gets a little bit complex, that's kind of when we can tell, all right, this might need to go to the business advisor so they can take care of the rest of this stuff. But you know, we pretty much handle everything that they got going on there. You know, change requests, anything that, you know, amendments. If they have to do that, we'll get them over to the to the right department over there. But I like to say that we pretty much handle everything. Like anything that anyone calls in about, I'm glad to help them with.
Yeah, we have a fantastic customer support team, and they are super, super helpful. And you know, one of the things that brings a tremendous value to Inc. Authority and to the customers who use us as a service provider is that we have this entire team of individuals and departments that can help a new business owner. So like you said, most of the time at the customer support level, you guys can handle all of those things. But if you need to bring in somebody from our business advisor team, somebody from our credit team, somebody from our legal team, or whatever other team might need be, we can bring in the right people who can get answers for our customers. And so it's super, super amazing what you do. I know that many times you're just helping people who maybe can't find their EIN number, or they don't understand a document, or they've received some correspondence, they don't know what it is, maybe it's from the state, maybe it's from the IRS. There's a myriad of questions that they might have. But I know a big one is initially, right after they've initially set up that LLC, they receive this beautiful package, and it comes to them and it lands on their porch, and it's got this record book in it. It has their name of their LLC on the spine, and they open it up and they've got all these documents in here, and a lot of times they're like, oh no, this is not my specialty, I don't know what to do with this. Now, one of the things we do in our customer support team is we give people an opportunity to go through what we call a doc walk, where they can talk to somebody like you on our customer support team, and you can walk them through the documents, point out, highlight things, answer their questions, and make sure that they get off on the right foot. So tell us a little bit about that process. What does that look like?
Yeah, very exciting, at the same time very boring when they get that binder. We're very glad they call in, because sometimes they don't call in, and you know, sometimes we have to get them on the right track to get them scheduled for that document completion call. But yeah, what we take them through is literally pretty much every document in there, how everything in there works, what everything means, because obviously most of the time they're going to open it up and they're very clueless. They don't know what most of the documents in there mean. But the operating agreement is one that I'd like to bring up first, because I honestly think I have a great way of explaining it, and I refer to it as the manual for your business, right? So I always say, you know, when you get a car, you get a little manual, shows you how to operate the car. That's pretty much how I tell them to think about it. So I love coming up with little ideas just to kind of show them how to think about these about these documents, so that they can kind of get a better understanding of how they work. The biggest one that I love, obviously, taking them through is the membership certificates, because it very much excites them, right? It's kind of towards the end of the call, and the rest of it is pretty boring. And then you get to the membership certificates, and you get to show that physical proof that you own the company, right? And most of the time it's the 100 units. They own the whole company. They feel really good about themselves, and they're ready to go from there.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun process. You know, yeah, you said it's not the sexiest thing in the world to go through documents, and it's not everybody's favorite thing to do. But it is absolutely an essential part of the process of having a business, because the business has to act like a business, right? And while an LLC might be considered in the eyes of the law a separate legal person, that separate legal person can't think on its own, it can't make decisions on its own. It has to have some people behind it that are doing things and making decisions. And the way that that is authenticated, authorized, and proven is by making sure that meetings are held, and that the recordings of those meetings, everything's recorded properly, and minutes are taken, et cetera, and all the documentation is taken care of. You know, in many respects, it can help maintain the limited liability protection. But more than anything, it's just the practical nature of these documents. It's almost hard to do business without them, right? I'm sure you've talked to people who've said, hey, I want to go to my local bank and I want to set up a bank account, and they're telling me I need a banking resolution, for example. And is that something that we have in the record book documents?
Yeah, so the banking resolution we definitely have in that book, and it's always going to be there for them. So they can fill that out, and that's ready to go for them.
Yeah, and it's super important, right? Because usually most business owners that I know of, that's one of the first things they want to get done is they want to get the bank account set up, and a lot of times they need that banking resolution. So you've touched a little bit on the operating agreement for the LLC, which is the internal governing document. You call it the owner's manual of the business. It's really, really important because it outlines policies and procedures and rules in advance about how you're going to govern and work that business. Super important. You've talked about the business banking resolution, you've talked about the ownership certificates. What are a couple of other important documents? There's a whole bunch in there, but what are some of the other ones that you touch on and highlight and show people how to execute and how to use? Yeah,
so the minutes of the first meeting one is a big one because it shows you how to actually document that first annual meeting, right? And the one that we have in there is a little bit more tailored to them, just kind of getting it out of the way so that they don't have to spend a bunch of time on it. Most of the time, it's just going to be one LLC member in that company, so they just want to be able to write the information down that's needed for the meeting, and then get it out of the way. So that one, you really just have to go on, put the date. What was the date you had the meeting? Where did you meet? And then a detailed business purpose. So that is one of the main ones, and then also I would say the capital contribution one, and it's initial Exhibit A. And that one is where you're actually stating your capital contribution in exchange for your units of ownership, right? Because that's very important when it comes to the equity of your company.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Super important documents. Of course, there's a whole bunch of other documents that you'll take them through as well. And we call these the organizational meeting minutes for when you've just barely started up your company and make sure everything, the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. And of course, there's another section in the record book that are template forms for the future. Because things change over time, and maybe a manager wants to leave the organization or is asked to leave the organization. Maybe a new one is appointed, and so there's forms to remove managers and to add managers and to have additional either regular meetings or special meetings, etc. So all of those are in there as well. And any time in the future, if somebody has a question about how to use those, they can also call you back, and you can walk them and guide them through that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also, the blank tabs that we put in there for their organization, which I love taking them through, right? Because they see that and they're like, oh, great. Now I have, a place to put every single document that has to do with my LLC and keep everything in one place.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
I've talked to people before who have gone through the process either online or maybe they've talked to one of our business startup specialists to get their LLC set up. And maybe they didn't understand fully that they were going to receive this beautiful binder with the name on the spine and all of these documents inside. I mean, they kind of heard it, but because they haven't done it before, they didn't really understand it. They get it, they're impressed, but now they're like, wow, this is real, and now I have to take care of this. And so they have questions, and it's great that they can turn to a member of our customer support team. They can turn to you or one of your colleagues, and they can be guided by the hand to make sure that everything is taken care of properly. So thank you, appreciate that. Thank you for joining us today and explaining that to us.
Thank you, Trevor. Thanks for having me.
You bet. And thank you all for joining us again today on this episode of The Startup Show, as always brought to you by Inc. Authority. If you have any questions about any of the documents in your company record book, please give us a call or see us online at incauthority.com. Now would be a good time to go ahead and hit the like button, and make sure that you also hit the subscribe button with the notification bell turned on so that you don't miss any future episodes of our program. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time.